Question number 5. What does the word sahih mean? This is a hadith which is sahih. What does that mean? Answer number 5. It literally means healthy, sound, or genuine. That's what it linguistically means. Question 6. What about the term hasan? Answer 6. It also means something beautiful, handsome, fair, and wholesome, linguistically. Question 7. What is a sahih hadith? Answer 7. It is a hadith that is authentic and sound. In other words, it is a hadith that meets the standards and conditions that have been established by the hadith specialists. Hadith which is sahih is a hadith which is deemed to be genuine. We can scientifically prove whether we're 101% or whether it is 75 out of 100%. We know and we feel strongly confident that the Messenger of Allah said the following words. What do they mean? How are they to be implemented? That's a separate story. That's a secondary, or that is the next step in the field of the sciences of hadith. But what's important here is that the hadith is authentic and sound. And just because a hadith has a good meaning does not mean that it's sahih. It sounds good does not necessitate that it's genuine. It's popular. It's in wide circulation. Everyone talks about it. I heard it at my local mosque. This imam has mentioned in this book. I heard it in a khatira after the salah. It does not mean that it is authentic. The authentic hadith is the hadith which is deemed authentic by the scholars of hadith, not by the fuqaha, not by the scholars of this field and of this science, not by the non-Muslims. Statements of Muhammad. No, only the specialists, the ulama, the scholars of hadith. Question number 8. How many conditions and standards are there for a sahih hadith? How many things does a hadith have to meet in order for it to be called authentic? Answer number 8. There are 4 main conditions. Not 5. We didn't say 5. Nor did we say 3. Nor did we say there are no conditions. How you feel. Oh, it's authentic. Yeah, it sounds authentic. It sounds good. No. There's a science. And there are rules and conditions and standards. And we hold the view, or we're not even going to get into views. Right now, there are 4 of those conditions. Question 9. Please mention those conditions in brief. Answer 9. They are as follows. Number 1. The chain of reporters must be continuous and unbroken. The chain of reporters must be continuous and unbroken. When we have one hearing from another, from a third, from a fourth, they're in line. And it's metaphysically represented like a chain, a line of men or a line of women, reporters. He heard from this one, who heard from that one, etc. A line, a chain. And the first condition is that the chain cannot be broken. It has to be continuous. And we're going to explain those conditions later on, inshallah. So let's not even jump ahead. Number 2, the reporters must be pious, Allah-fearing, religious people. It's enough to know the conditions, whether you can explain them or not, but just to actually have them memorized, to know them. Number 3, they must have strong retentive memory. Number 4, the hadith cannot have any hidden glitch or concealed defect. 4 conditions to memorize by heart. Number 1, the chain of reporters has to be continuous and unbroken. Number 2, the reporters must be pious, God-fearing, Allah-fearing, religious. Number 3, they have to have a strong memories, ability to memorize. Number 4, the hadith cannot have any hidden glitch, any subliminal or subtle defect. It has to be sound on the surface and in the actual core. Question 10. Please give a brief and simple explanation of these conditions. Please give a brief and simple explanation of these conditions. Answer number 10. And it's very important when you're studying a book to know the number of a thing, or the numbers of things, etc. To know the interpretation of them are 2 different concepts. How many conditions are there? You don't start off, well, it has to be like this. No. How many conditions? 4. How many conditions? 10. How many conditions? 7. Know the number. Step 1. Step 2 is to have them memorized. 1, 2, 3, this, that, etc. Step 3 is to have the interpretation of them and to be able to break them down and explain them. There's a huge difference between those 3 levels. And this is how you systematically seek knowledge. This is how you systematically seek knowledge. Answer 10. The first condition. The chain of reporters must be continuous and unbroken. This means that each reporter in the chain met and heard from his teacher what he reports from him. That the student actually met the teacher. There's no one between them. In other words, we know for sure that it's mouth to ear, ear to mouth. Because if there's someone else between the two, that person may not be a good person. We don't know who that person is. So there's direct contact and connection between master and apprentice. Between the anchor, the reporter, the eyewitness, etc. They saw the crime. I heard it. I was there directly. Everyone understand this? The word chain is used metaphorically to represent a series of men/women, one narrating and reporting from the next until the actual report or news is reached, as we just said. If someone narrates from someone whom he or she didn't meet or met but did not hear that specific report from, the chain becomes broken, and therefore the hadith cannot be sahih. The second condition, the reporters must be pious, Allah-fearing, religious people. This means that they are sane Muslims. They aren't insane, but they're mentally sane, who have reached the age of adolescence. They cannot be babies or young. They have to be at least of that age. They do not have to be perfect. We don't say that they're angels, but they have to be righteous and religious. But they have to be people who pray, fast, and avoid major sins and acts of disobedience, at least in public. At least in public. Someone is righteous, outwardly at least. What's behind their closed doors? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows. And should also be far from practices which are culturally looked down upon as weird and strange. Things that are extremely peculiar and weird. Things that aren't accepted at all in one society or by most of the people. And we're not talking about Muslim, non-Muslim, because that's a different discussion in itself. Wearing a dress, right? Marrying more than one woman. I'm not talking about those things. Things that everyone agrees on. Muslim, Jew, Christian, Buddhist, Sikh. Doing something which is way out of the ordinary, which draws unnecessary attention to you, and then people may doubt your sanity. Or they may doubt your orientation. What you're into. It's something that's just not right. Because in most cases, it seems as if this leading to something else. If he's doing that in public, which is extremely weird, it has no direct reason, in most cases, there are many other things which may not be acceptable that we don't see. That's the wisdom behind that. And that is in brief. That's in what? In brief. The third condition, they must have strong retentive memory. Can't be weak. They can't be people, I don't know. I forgot. No. This is what he said. This is what he did. This is what happened. What was he looking like? He had on this retentive memory, like a sponge. They suck it up. This means that the reporters in the chain of narration memorize the report by heart, exactly as they heard or seen it. Exactly as they have heard or seen it. If they do not possess such a memory, then at least they take good notes and are efficiently accurate in what they write down and pass on. Everyone isn't blessed with a strong memory. Everyone doesn't have a good memory. People forget. Me being one of those people. That's why I read and I write things down. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just and He's never oppressive to His servants. There's some people that are naturally born smart cookies, the sharpest tool in the shed. Naturally. They can suck up everything, remember everything and spit it back like nothing. And there are those of us who don't have that ability, whose memory is weak and poor, and they forget things oftentimes. Allah has not wronged them. Allah has given you the solution and the answer, which is the pen and the pad. And this is one of the reasons why Allah Azza wa Jal, He swears by Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun. Allah says the pen and that which they record. Huh? Allama bil qalam. Allah says He taught man by the pen. The pen is of tremendous significance in Islam. So if you can't memorize it, if you can't hold it, then at least write it down. And obviously if you can memorize it and write it down, nurun ala nur, that's light upon light. Light upon light. Taking notes is a skill. It's a science in taking notes. Do you have to write everything I say? Should you write everything I say? How do you review your notes? How do you rewrite your notes? Where do you keep your notes? Do you allow your young child to write through the notes and rip through the page? Do you allow a liar to mimic your handwriting? It's a skill in taking notes and preserving notes. And what do you do after a year of lectures? 5 years of lectures. Where are you going to put all those books? What are you going to do with them? In the modern world today, alhamdulillah, I have a notebook full of notes. What do? Do I turn them to a PDF? I archive the notes. I put them in a drive, a cloud. It's preserved. This is a fiqh behind writing down. It says, the fourth and final condition, the hadith cannot have any hidden glitch or concealed defect. Means that the hadith, whether it be in its chain or its text, because there are two main parts of hadith. There's the isnad or the sanad, the chain, and then there's the matan, the actual wording, the actual story, the report of the hadith. It can't have any glitch or hidden defect in either of the two. It has to be void of any harmful defect or glitch that would normally appear, or only becomes apparent after extensive research and comparison. This cannot be explained in detail in this basic stage. A simplified answer will be this tablet here. Looks good. I don't have the money to buy a new tablet. So therefore I want to buy a pre-owned tablet or used tablet or car. Even better example. I don't have the money to buy a new car. I go to the car lot and obviously the car dealer is smiling ear to ear. We have a wonderful car for you. It's this year, this model, it's clean, it's strong. Here, get in, take a ride. It looks good, sounds good, it feels good. But this is your first car you're buying. Or you have many cars, but you're not experienced with cars like that. You don't know about cars and the engine and the transmission, etc. And one day, you go back or say, oh, this is a great car. You know what? I want to buy this, but I'm going to come back with the money tomorrow. He says, sure, no problem. We'll be open. It's yours. I'll reserve it for you. I'll take it off the lot for you. And the next day, you happen to go with your father or your older brother or your uncle or your aunt. And you get in the car, you cut it on, and your aunt, she hears a sound. She says, what was that? Oh, it was nothing. The car started up. You're happy you're about to buy the car. She says, no, cut on. What's that sound? What do you mean? And then the car dealer, he starts to frown. And he starts to get a little nervous. And he realized that the aunt heard that little click or that little glitch or that little stutter. And it's something which isn't apparent to the naked eye. The inexperienced driver and car buyer. But the aunt, who's been around for many, many years, she says, wait a second. Ask him to lift up the hood and go here. Well, no, it's no need for that. Just ask him. He lifts it up, and she sees the cord is loose, or this is burnt out, or this is too, whatever the case may be, and realize that there is a hidden glitch, a concealed defect in the car, even though it seems to be strong and clean. But only the expert person knows that something is wrong with this. And the same applies to a hadith. Hadith seems to look authentic, it seems to sound authentic, but there's something wrong. This person actually didn't meet that person. The Prophet ﷺ was in Mecca during this year, so how can a hadith say he was in another country? وهكذا. And this cannot be explained in detail, nor should it be explained in detail in its beginning stage. So these are the basic conditions of hadith sahih. So when you hear the ulama of Islam saying, هذا حديث صحيح, this is an authentic report, it means that it is included and contained or entail these four conditions. So the hadith cannot go against another more authentic hadith. Two hadiths which do not mix at all. There's no way of harmonizing. It's clearly one of the two we have to take. Something's wrong. A hidden glitch or defect. Something which is totally irregular and isolated. It cannot be included in authentic hadith. طيب. Question number 11. What is the difference between a hadith that is sahih and one that is hasan and one that is hasan. Answer number 11. These two types of hadiths are very similar, except that the reporters in the chain of narration of the hasan hadith fails, or the reporters, they fail to meet the caliber of precision and quality of those of the sahih hadith. In layman terms, all conditions of the sahih hadith must be met in the hasan hadith, except that it is a grade lower. A simple example of this would be two school students who both pass a class. One student has a 3.5 GPA and the latter has a 3-point GPA. They both passed and are acceptable students, but one is stronger than the other. Very practical question, because you read in 110 sacred hadiths, you read in this book, Tirmidhi said the hadith is hasan. Nawawi says in 40 hadith, it is hasan. What does it mean? But he says about another hadith that it is sahih. Albani said it's sahih. What is hasan and sahih? Very practical question right here. And the answer is very simple. Is that hadith hasan and hadith sahih, they are sisters or cousins. They are related. They share the same flesh and blood. But one is more direct than the other. Hadith sahih has the 4 conditions. Hadith hasan has the 4 conditions. There's no weak narrator or no missing link. La 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 la. But hasan's level of accuracy, of veracity, is not as strong as that of the sahih hadith. That's it. One student got a 95, another one got an 80, but they're both passing students. One got a 100, and one got a 90. They're both passing students, but one is what? Of a higher level. And obviously this is going to be relative. But with a simple, basic example, an A plus is not like a B or a C plus, even though they're both passing students. They've passed the exam and they went on to the next level, but they aren't the same. They are not the same. Question number 12. What does the term da'if mean? Answer number 12. This word refers to something that is weak and feeble. Something that is weak and feeble. When you see in a book, this is a hadith da'if. Or in the masjid, the brothers are arguing and says, nah, it says that's da'if. That's da'if. That's da'if. You da'if. Hadith is da'if. It's not authentic. These Muslims, they practice something which is what? Da'if. We practice sahih. What does that mean? Linguistically, it is something which is weak. Something which is feeble. It isn't strong. The opposite is frail. Question 13. What does it mean technically? What does it technically mean? According to the sciences of hadith. Not the scholars of fiqh, but the scholars of hadith. Answer number 13. It is any hadith that fails to meet one or more of the conditions of a hasan hadith. So if it's missing condition number 1, it's called da'if. If it's condition number 1 and 2 that are missing, it's also called da'if. If it's missing the 4th condition, but has the first 3, it's also called da'if. Does it mean that it has to have a bad meaning? No. It is totally, absolutely rejected? No. It may have a good meaning. It may sound good. It may be popular. It may be famous. Maybe mentioned by your favorite Islamic personality on YouTube. But according to the scholars of hadith, it is da'if if it fails to meet one or more of those conditions. Obviously, if it's missing 1 condition or 2 conditions, then it's weak, let alone just 1. And that's a very long discussion about weak hadiths. Can they be used? Can they be implemented? Can we benefit from that? That's a very, very, very long discussion.